I really like bees. They're one of my favorite bugs, up there with ladybugs and bats. They're cute, fuzzy, and yellow, which means that it redeems one of the worst parts of the color wheel. And of course, they make honey, which is one of the sweetest and tastiest naturally occurring treats. From a practical perspective, they are one of the most important parts of the environment, especially for an agriculture-based society like ours. The bee has a very unique appeal, so when I saw Bee Simulator recommended to me on Steam, I was ecstatic. I want to play as a bee. I want to be a little small guy that can collect pollen and go to my hive. Not only that, but I get to be a little guy that interacts with normal things so that normal things seem big. Normal things seeming big is cool. So when I started the game, I was excited to just run around and do my bee thing. But as I continued playing, I realized something really weird. The game has some really weird politics. Most of the game's politics are pretty conventional, showing a pretty standard perspective of environmentalism, showing how important bees are for the environment. Bee Simulator is a game for children, so it makes sense, stressing the importance of bees and encouraging kids to protect them when they can. In fact, when you pause the game, in addition to all the usual pause menu stuff, there's a specific option to learn how to help the bees. When opened, it will show pretty simple, understandable advice. That is, individualistic and on a small scale level, but which makes sense for an audience that is, again, children. As the game explains, tell a friend, spread the love, tell your friends and family about the huge role of bees and our hard work to make the world more colorful. Leave beehives alone when you find them. Please, do not disturb me when I'm working. Winky face. Also, don't take our honey or honeycomb, as we can get angry and even sting you, even if we don't like to do it. Say no to pesticides and herbicides. Those are really harmful to us. I'm sure your plants will manage great without them. This advice isn't very applicable on a larger scale, but from the perspective of a child that has a very minimal impact on the world, it's good advice. Basically, be nice to bees and don't make them angry. It's fine. But when you start the game and actually start playing, the sensible message gets a bit obscured. So let's talk about the game. You play as a new worker bee, whose default name is Beeskit, which is an absolute awful name. Like, I could name so many better names off the top of my head. You got Beatrice, you could do Elizabeth, Rebecca, Abby, Phoebe, and even Kirby. But perhaps most appropriate would be Bartleby the Scrivener, because the most defining personality trait of Beeskit is that she is an overworked laborer who is upset at her position at the company.
That's a lot of pollen I've collected. Wow.
Good work, yes, but we still need more.
More? Wow. My wings will fall off.
Don't worry about your wings. Just go get more pollen.
Even more? Oh, well.
You have your own work to do. You must collect pollen for us.
Of course. I shall do as you order, my queen.
Like real bees, you play as a worker working underneath a queen. Because these bees are anthropomorphized, this isn't simply a thing that bees do. No, your bee has to be ordered in order to do labor. The game presents a large world to explore, but they give you specific tasks. You need to find specific kinds of pollen and collect it, and bring it back to the hive. If you want to explore, as many players will, you will have to disobey orders and do your own thing. But this, in turn, will make the queen upset. You have to do your job as the queen has assigned it to you. And there is a surprising amount of time that the game spends on this. Basically half the game is about how much Beeskit doesn't like her job. It's really weird. But what's even weirder is how little the game tries to resolve this. Because this conflict remains unresolved as a bigger problem comes to the hive. The tree that the hive is nested in is scheduled to be cut down. Faced with this existential threat, Beeskit no longer really cares about her job. All of her focus is put onto saving her community. She finds a new place to stay, and she helps other bees evacuate as beekeepers smoke out the hive. Which, to my knowledge, isn't accurate at all, and smoke just doesn't hurt bees, but whatever, moving on. Simply, this labor dispute is put aside as a larger threat comes, and is completely disregarded after it's over. After they get to their new hive and they have established themselves again, Beeskit appears to be happy. Nothing is wrong. Even though nothing has really changed, the hive is the same, the power structure is the same, and she's doing the same job, she's okay with it now. The game seems to apply that the very existence of an outside force to threaten you is enough to make your individual concerns seem unimportant in comparison. The concerns of the individual worker do not matter in comparison to the concerns of the larger community. This is a strange message to put into your game about simulating a bee, and it is largely unnecessary. A beehive does not need to be conceptualized as a bunch of workers being under the rule of a queen. Queen bee and worker bee may be the names that are assigned to them, but we don't need to think about them in this way. The queen bee is the mother of most of the other bees in the hive. If we want to anthropomorphize these animals, the most accurate comparison would be a mom and children. Most of the message would remain the same, but instead of connecting it to the corporate structure or the monarchy, it would be associated with a much less partisan family unit. But no, we have to learn that a worker has to do their job, that they need to shut up and just do their work. This is a surprisingly common sentiment among bee media. Bee Movie specifically is notable in how deeply it believes in this. Bee Movie is absolutely wild with just how in-depth it deals with labor disputes.
Is this what nature intended for us? To be forcibly addicted to these smoke machines in man-made wooden slat work camps? Living out our lives as honey slaves to the white man?
Why do we use bees so much to teach this message to children? Well, I want you to think seriously about the bee from the perspective of a child. If you're a kid that likes to play and touch anything, you'll very quickly learn not to do that with bees. Bees will sting you. They hurt. I don't like being hurt. I'm gonna not play with bees. I don't like bees. Bees are bad. But no, the wise adult explains to their crying child, bees are important for the environment. They help make flowers, food, and even honey. Bees don't mean to do you any harm. If you leave bees alone and let them do their own thing, they won't hurt you. Bees are just as scared of you as you are of them. Let the bee do their own thing, and you won't be hurt next time. The bee, then, takes a very particular place in a child's imagination. They help to conceptualize a necessary evil. This bee may have hurt you, but it does good things. And if I learn how to act in the correct manner, then the bee can be my friend. On a literal level, this is true. Bees are great. I love bees. I like playing as bees. But on a larger conceptual level, it demonstrates a very particular relationship to power. Do not disobey the queen. You may dislike your job, but you must continue doing it for the good of all. It is not just the bee that is a necessary evil, but the larger structure surrounding it. From this perspective, the environmental message too becomes more sinister. We no longer have the charitable reading of the individualized environmentalism. Sure, help the bees how you can, make a bee hotel, give them a little bit of food, but you should in no way advocate for larger social structures. Don't join any environmental organizations, don't volunteer where you can, just continue what you're doing. Be nice to the bee. We need the bees. Whatever you do, don't touch the bees.